All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Open Live Q&A. This is week number 152. I'm so excited to have basically gone, 152 weeks consecutively with the live stream. So welcome back, and I have a whole bunch of math. I do apologize for last week. I know a lot of you guys had midterms coming up, so if you did have a midterm, I hope you did awesome. If you have coming up one this week, then it's game time, right? So it's time to get yourself ready, prepared, and kind of hunker down with that studying and remain focused. I know it's so easy to get yourself distracted around this time of the year, but finish off strong, because then once you're done with your exam, you're done with your exam, right? And you don't have to worry or think about so much after that. And then it's off to a new year, 2023, and maybe some more math and more stuff like that. So on these live streams, I like to go ahead and answer your guys' questions that you guys can go ahead and submit at brianmclogan.com/Q&A, which I do not have up above. But I do have a whole bunch of questions that from last week I was so ambitious. I was like, I'm going to answer questions every single day. I'm going to go live. And then I kind of got sick, probably like midweek. And then I just, you could even kind of hear my voice. I still just kind of have like this little head cold. It has just been one of those things that has not wanted to go away. So it's kind of been a little bummer, but I had to make my live stream from on there. But anyways, let me go and put that brianmclogan.com/Q&A, because I keep on saying it all the time. And I want to make sure that you guys, for those of you that do have a question, and then also if you have not already joined my Discord server, to go ahead and check that out. That's also a great way, guys, for you to, share any of the resources that you guys have for as you're studying for exam or stuff like that. There's students all over the world that are in that Discord server that are taking different classes that are great to answer questions and stuff to help like that. So definitely check out the Discord server. It's a great, I think, a great resource for you to use, because I only take questions at brianmclogan.com/Q&A on every Sunday night at 9 p.m. I'm not obviously going to get to be able to every single question, but I'll try to do my best to get you the questions that I have already been submitted, and therefore also the ones that you guys are going to put in on the chat. So hey, Ralph, good to have you on. On a scale of 1 to 10, how productive was your weekend? I have 3 kids, and my weekends are horribly productive, so it'd be like a 3. I did try to get some work done, but I didn't. As I mentioned, I was kind of sick, so a lot of times if I do get a lot of work done, it's usually because I woke up really early, and this weekend I was just not really able to wake up very early. So it was, like a 2 or 3. How can I join your group as a member? I'm Kenya University in Nigeria. How can I join your group as a member? I'm not sure what you mean as a member, because I've been trying to make payment, but the site is not signing in. You might have to reach out to me on Discord or on Instagram. I'm not sure what you're trying to pay for, or what membership you're trying to get attached with. So let me know a little bit more details. I can help out. Would you say rational functions are more algebra 2 or pre-calc? It really kind of depends on the curriculum. I would say, I'd probably say I spend more time with rational functions in algebra 2 than in pre-calculus. Is kind of something we, kind of expecting students have a basic understanding of it, and then we kind of scale up from there. Like I think on my lesson in pre-calculus, I maybe deal with like rational functions for like 3 days. You can go deeper. You can go more into it, but yeah, I do kind of expect the students have a basics of understanding with rational functions in pre-calculus, so we just kind of build on it. Well, hey, Davao from De Oro, Philippines. Awesome. Good to have you on. So for ambiguous case, there are only 3 cases: 0, right, 0, 1, or 2. That is correct. I'm definitely ready. Officer D. Leslie. Hey, Mr. McLogan, I want to ask you, could you, if you haven't already, made a video on function rules? Not sure what exactly rules you're talking about with functions, but yeah, I do have a ton of videos on functions, so you can definitely go check that out. Thanks, Johnny. I know this doesn't relate to math, but but I feel like I've worked very hard, especially at math. Yes, and I'm not performing how I would expect. Okay. After every test, I'm assuming I feel like I aced them, and then I'm assuming you probably don't get the grade that you do. Yeah, it's that's a very common thing, and it's not unique to you. It's not unique to math. I think you just got to keep on chugging along. You got to keep on practicing, and also, sometimes we look for some different things. I think sometimes, you maybe got to approach it a little bit differently, right? If the way that you're studying, how you're studying, is not producing the results that that you're expecting or you want it to produce, then change it up. Like try to be your own worst I won't say enemy, but your own, critic, and like really try to see like why are you not getting the results that you are trying to get, right? And what are some different things you could try, different things you can do? Maybe you need to get some advice from some different people to help you out with that. Help you out with pre-calc manage to pass. Well, awesome, Carl. Congratulations. That's sweet. I have midterms on Wednesday. Awesome. Winter break starts on Thursday for me. Well, awesome, Gabe. Good for you. Hope you have a great break. Hey, Justin. Good to have you on. Thank you. Priya, tomorrow morning, you got this 360 sauce. Best of luck, Angelita. Hey, I had my Calc 1 final yesterday. Still waiting the results. It was really hard. I went through so many archive exams, and the actual final was so little like the practice. That stinks. Yeah, that can be pretty frustrating. I think there's. I wouldn't say that the work and everything you did in prep was, in vain. I still think that's helped you prepare. But yeah, it's never going to be an exact replica, right? The only thing you can do is just try to prepare yourself as best possible. And I still think going through, old tests and other things like that is like a great way to do that. So, it looks like there was, there's a lot to be tested, but hopefully all that work though really kind of helped, shows through on your exam for you. I find it difficult to solve. I need help with linear functions. I wasn't sure how to solve them. Okay, well, you can submit your question. Happy to be able to help you out as best I can. How best to prepare for Calc 1 after passing an A in pre-calc? If you have an A in pre-calculus, unless you don't feel like you understood the information, I would say you have a good understanding for Calc 1. I think really just kind of just a review of the, pre-calculus topics and really just the algebra 2 topics. That's really where most students get stuck in calculus is the trig and the algebra, right? So the trig from pre-calculus and the algebra from algebra 2. So I just make sure you go back through that material as best you can, kind of as a keep review, keep it fresh. Hey, Nishant, good to have you on. How are you doing? I have a Math 3 final test tomorrow, and I'm kind of nervous than usual, even though I study a lot. How can I feel more confident? You just said everything you did. You studied more than you did, than your usual. Like, that's awesome. Congratulations. Like, there's always going to be that stress. There's always going to be that fear, that unknown, right? The anxiety. Like, I don't think that ever goes away for anybody. They even talk about professional athletes, when they're getting in the game, like they get those same feelings. Like, so that's natural, right? So don't feel like you're being nervous is something that's bad. Like, I don't think you're ever going to like not feel nervous taking a test or an examination. So understand that. I think the good thing is to like just lean into your confidence that you've studied, how much studying you've done, how much work you've put into this. You are as best prepared as you've ever been. So, as we kind of point, like sometimes tests and quizzes and things can go ways, that we're not expecting them. But you're going to figure it out and you're going to do the best you can possibly do on the test. And then you're just going to go from there. Right. And depending on the result, you are just going to adjust and you're going to keep on moving forward. Right. So it's not the end of the world. It's not going to define you. And yeah, just be like, it's just a test and you're going to do the absolute best that you can possibly do. And you're going to nail it. I really do think you can. I think when you put in all that work, you just gotta sometimes tame those fears, try to breathe. I think breathing and closing your eyes and visualizing can be very, very helpful the night before the test, as well as the day of the test. So maybe give that a shot. Maybe that will kind of help calm those fears, but the fears are okay. That's natural. Awesome. Yes, trig identities are big. And the growth decay functions, and given a graph, how do you determine from the graph? I'm not sure I fully understand. Oh, like if you're taking the graph and then you're trying to write it into that formula, I'm assuming. Right? I'm assuming that's from me, but I'm not really fully sure. Larry, if you just want to clarify. Last question, even though it looks a silly question, why should I be good at math? How relevant is succeeding in life? Yeah, I don't think it's really like extremely relevant in like succeeding in life. You can be very successful in life with having a very minimal math background. I think on the whole, the more math that you know, I think the stronger and more beneficial it's going to, provide, like the more benefit it's going to provide you, right? But I do think there is a I'm trying to think of the word, like there's this bias that we feel like if you're good at math then you're going to be successful in life, or like you're better than, smarter than somebody else. And like, no, that's completely not the case. Okay. So I don't want you to feel like I'm making that argument, or for us to believe that just because you're good at math, or just because this, like you are so much smarter than other people, going to be better than other people, more successful than other people. Like that is not the case. But I do feel like and I believe there has been some studies, Ben, and again, like, I don't know, it could be all debatable because I'm not, actually citing anything, but I do feel like from at least my understanding of math, and I do feel like there's that correlation that, for as far as you've gone with math, like the more that you can expand upon from that knowledge and to understand how things are connected and how things work. And no matter what field you go into, if it's a very heavy math field or a non-heavy math field, like having that foundational math knowledge, and not just like foundation, like adding, subtracting, but like even once you can get into calculus, like there's, I remember when I got into calculus, I'm like, I really wish everybody could understand calculus. Now, again, the way that we teach calculus and like sometimes the calculus that we sometimes have, I don't think everybody needs to go through that traditional calculus course, but there's so much there's so much you like understand about different things, like about the world and like how things work and relationships once you know like calculus, and even other things like in math. And so while yeah, a lot of the math for everybody is not going to be directly applicable, I do feel like for a society and for majority of people having that foundation, the more math foundation that people have, um, I think the farther and more successful that they can be. And I don't think it's like, again, not to say like just because you're smart at math or good at math, like that means you're more successful or you're smarter than other people. That's not what I'm saying. But I do see there is a correlation for people that have a mathematical understanding or have had the foundation or at least the exposure to different math, that I think they have an advantage over others. And I think that's something that we need to lean into more. But anyways, good question. I like that one a lot. Was it, where am I got? Is that showing up there? Oh, okay. 12 foot. Let me write in that. 1240. I mean, there is no best way to study for a test. I think you got to review your notes, review your homework, review all the stuff that you did well, that you made mistakes on, and go through all that kind of stuff, and then also do as many practice problems as you possibly can. But I think if you're to say what best way to study for exam is, like study as early as possible and as often as possible and consistently as possible. So yeah, what's the best way to study for an exam? I like that. Study. The best way to study for for a pre-calc midterm exam is to study often, to study consistently, and study with enough advance before you take your test. Good question. I got to get through some of these. I want to say hi and some of the things, and then I'll get to them as well. But I'll get to the questions. Well, I got to get to them sooner than later, actually, because I don't want to be going live for so long. I agree with Nishan. You're just ready math test, and if you don't get a good grade, it can be helpful. All right, let me just go and see. Well, awesome. Can you give me a definition of the following terms? No, I'd have to go and take a look at more notes. I don't know anything off the top of my head. Yes, how do you come up with the rate? Principle says 3,500 t 9.5 years, but rate not defined. Graph given. Sorry, Larry, I just have to look at this a little bit more. If you have a question, like you can submit it at thebrianmclogan.com. Therefore, I can like actually see how the math problem is like written. And it'd be a little bit easier for me to kind of like digest what you're doing from on there. And also that gives me a little bit more time to like look ahead. So if you want to go and do that, I can spend a little bit more time on that to be able to do. I'm still not fully understanding how the text is coming through, though. I mean, I don't really have any general tips for the math ATS. I would actually just read the problem. I guess my best tip would like read the problem and make sure you like check your answer. A lot of times SAT, ACT problems, the answer like it feels sometimes like it's a really quick and easy way, but sometimes that's kind of like a trick or a trap. So really make sure you're reading the question fully. All right, cool. Well, somebody said let's get on to the questions, and I kind of agree. So I'm actually going to put those down. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to any of the additional questions. Sorry, guys. But I will see. Did I already close out that window? Let me go see. See how many more questions were submitted. Might drive myself crazy. I think we'll be all right. Okay. All right, cool. All right, so let's get into some math questions. Got that one last right there. Yeah, because I have quite a bit. I actually think I have like 10 that I got to get through. For all you guys that were here last week that submitted, I do apologize. I just couldn't get to them as I wanted to. So let's go ahead and get on with the math. What am I trying to do? I am trying to switch. There we go. Voila. Oh crap! I forgot to verify. I'll just go off of my top of my head. All right. I'm going to verify and simplify trig identities. Now it's pretty complicated from first glance. Yeah, I mean, it's not really. It's just it is kind of difficult because there's just so many. There's so many ways to like approach the problem, right? And there's just not like so many students love like being told like do this, then do that, right? And then you get to trigonometric identities, and it's like, we can do it many different ways. And it's like, crap, what does it mean? So yeah, I think that's kind of one of the more frustrating parts of identities. More question, but what job uses calculus as one of its subjects? I mean, there's a lot with there. You're gonna have like there's a lot even with like business calculus. And to be honest with you, I don't have like a application as far as all math where it's going to be applied, but there's definitely, I would say, if you want to look at like a wide variety of like obviously from the like the obvious of any kind of math field, it's just I'm sure like even a Google search will come up with a ton of good results of seeing like how calculus is used in there. I'm definitely some bit removed, and I don't just want to give you like an arbitrary like, oh, like for this example, like we use calculus to understand thing, and it's really so much of like still a lot of like, again, you got to understand like the math that we use. A lot of it, again, it's like from the technology that we have, right? But it's the understanding of that math and the calculus, which really is what is kind of separating us to understand how we can use that calculus to help us solve those problems. I have my math test tomorrow for AP Calculus, and I'm studying a lot. I'm very nervous because I need to do well to get an A. Do you have any tips? Breathe, relax. You studied a lot. You're ready for this. Make sure you read the questions, check your answers, take your time. You got this. Best of luck. And Headley says, I have a test tomorrow on statistics, and I cannot figure out one thing out. How do you know how to tell if something is a correlation or a causation? I always get them wrong. And to be honest, I don't remember stats at all. So I apologize. I'm just going to have to boot for that question. But I'm sure there's probably definitely some good content either in this, either in somebody in this chat or on the Discord that can help out. All right. So let's go into getting some questions on. I'm going to try to get these done as quickly as I can. So if I am talking too quickly, or if you have a follow-up question, let me know. All right. So this one says, given the finite angle, find the exact value of the indicated trigonometric function. Okay. So we have the double angle, right? So we do need to know cosine of 2 theta is equal to a 2 cosine squared of theta minus 1. I always like to use this one. Now we have sine of theta is 20/29. And then that is also between 0 and pi half. So that's going to be in the first quadrant. Okay, so since that angle is in the first quadrant, right, between 0, oops, why am I over there? Oh, come on, I knew I was going to do that. 2 cosine squared theta. Okay, so here is going to be 0. Here's pi halves, right? 0 pi halves, 0 pi halves. Okay, so it says sine of theta is 20 over 29. So remember that is opposite over hypotenuse, right? So therefore that is a 20. That's a 29. Now I can just do to find what this value is going to be. That is going to be, let's just call that x. And to find x here, I can say that 29 squared minus a 220 squared is going to equal x, right? So that pairs with that squared equals that squared. Subtract that. So let's see what we get here. 29 squared minus a 400 is a 441. Oh, sorry, and that's the square root. So that's the square root of 441. Sorry, there you go. So x equals square root of 441. Okay, now let's go and plug these values into, because here's our angle theta. So to find the double angle formula, this is going to be a 2 times cosine squared. Well, what's cosine? That's going to be square root of 441 over 29, right? So square root of 441 over a 29, and that's going to be minus 1. So therefore, that's going to, and that's squared. So therefore, I have a 2 times 441 divided by 29, and then minus a 29 over a 29. I feel like I'm doing something wrong because I'm not seeing this answer come up in here. And so now I'm kind of starting to be confused how this is. What am I doing wrong? 0 to 2 pi. I did the double angle formula, right? Oh, wait, yeah, that's cosine. Let me see, 2 times 441 minus 29. I'm getting 853. I'm not getting the exact same answer. What the heck am I doing wrong? All right, let's go back through. Ooh, first question. Is this the first question? First question is already getting a stump. Jeez. All right, so sine, opposite over hypotenuse. Got that. Between 0 and pi halves, first quadrant. Let's just write it out, I guess. Jeez. Right, so x squared plus a 20 squared equals a 29 squared minus a 20 squared, which is a 400. And so their x squared equals, let's just go back in. Oh, did I? No, yeah. Cosine of 2x, 2 theta, 2 cosine squared. Oh, that would have been a 29 squared. I forgot to square that. God, come on. There you go. That's supposed to be a 29 squared, right? There you go. Got to square both of them. Make sure you do that. So that's so what is 29 squared? So 29 squared is a 841. Okay. So now, sorry about that. I was wondering about that. So 841 over an 841. Okay. So now I have, so 29 squared is an 841. Good job. So that's 2 times 441. Okay, so 2 times a 441, and that's going to be minus an 841, and that's going to be a 41. Gotcha. All right, and that's a 41 all over an 841, and therefore you can see its answer B. Voila. Boom. Perfect. Okay, cool. The next one says use the graphs e to the 2x, which is in red, okay, and f to gx in blue to sketch the graphs of the f prime of f inverse of g of x and g prime, or g inverse of x. Give this symbolic representation. All right, so I'm assuming, I don't know, they want us. So the main thing we need to understand, though, is when we're trying to graph the inverse, they are reflective, what we call the y equals x line, okay? So this is going to look something like this. Not like that. Let me try it again. So these points are remaining the same. And so it's going to look something like that. Okay, now for the red, oh, let's do, so whatever, that's the blue. And then for here, we can kind of like swap those around, and we could say that graph's going to look something like that. Okay, so again, you're just reflecting those graphs over there, and that's how you're going to get the those notations. So that's going to be the inverses I just did in there. And you can just apply that notation however you want. All right, so this one we need to go ahead and start. So I believe the student's saying like, yeah, we need to take the log of both sides, which yes, I would just take the natural logarithm. Okay, so 5 of 2x plus 3 equals natural logarithm of 3 times x minus 1. Okay, now the reason why this is helpful is because now we can use the power rule to bring this, or not the, yeah, the power rule to bring those in front. Equals a x minus 1 times a ln of 3. Okay, now we can go ahead and distribute this. And therefore, we have a 2x ln of 5 plus a 3 ln of 5 equals a x ln of 3 minus a 1 ln of 3. Okay. I don't think I'm going to be going live tomorrow. I mean, I'll go and see. But yeah, that was kind of for last week since I had so many questions. I plan to get through all my questions tonight. All right. And now we need to solve for x, right? So I'm going to get the x's to the same side. So every term that has an x, so I subtract an x ln of 3 on both sides, minus an x ln of 3, and then I'm going to subtract a 3 ln of 5 on both sides. Okay, so when I do that, I get a 2x ln of 5 minus an x ln of 3 equals a negative ln of 3 minus a 3 ln of 5. All right, now to solve for x, I can factor out the x. That's going to leave me with a 2 ln of 5 minus an ln of 3 equals a negative ln of 3 minus a 3 ln of 5 divided by 2 ln of 5 minus a ln of 3 on both sides. 2 ln of 5. My 2 ln looks horrible. So therefore, this is going to be a 2 ln of 5 minus a ln of 3. Okay, so x is equal to, I'm just going to copy because I am lazy. Voila. All right, let's do another one. So this one is sum and difference formulas. Okay, you gotta remember the sum and difference formulas, which I think I did, which I think I do. So we have 8 over 17, 8 over 15. So that's in quadrant 3. So let's go and plot these triangles here. So I have negative 8 over 17. So that's in quadrant 3. So 1, 2, 3. Quadrant 3 is down here. All right, and that is, what is this angle? So that's alpha. Okay, so there's alpha. So that's a 17, and that's a negative 8. Cool. Let's do the 17 squared. I feel like that's a Pythagorean triple. Yes, it is. Should have known that. That's 15, but it's going to be negative, right? Because it's in quadrant 3. And then let's do beta, and I'll do red for that one, which is in quadrant 2. Thank you. Quadrant 2 is right here. Here, let's put this 15 down here. Okay, so then this is going to be a beta. So that's a negative 8. That's a 15. And then this is going to be a 17, right? It's basically the same idea that we have going on. So now let's go and write in our double angle formula, which the cosine of alpha plus beta, I'll just write it down below, is equal to a cosine of alpha, cosine of beta, and that's going to be minus a sine of beta times a sine of alpha. Okay. So now let's just go and fill in the information. So cosine of alpha is going to be a negative 15 over a 17. Cosine of beta is going to be a negative 8 over 15. 15, right? Okay, yeah. And then minus a sine of beta. So here's beta. Sine of beta is 17 over 15. And then we have what? A sine of alpha. Sine of alpha is going to be negative 8 over 17. That was a 15. All right, so now let's just go ahead and simplify this. So 17 times a 15 is 255. Okay, and we have 15 times 8. I don't want to do my math. 120. 17 times 8 is going to be 136. So 15 times 8 is 120. So it's going to be 120 all over a 255 minus, now this is going to be a 17 times a negative 8. 17 times negative 8 is 136. So that'd be a negative, but that's going to be, so it's minus a negative. So it's basically adding 136 all over a 255. So therefore, that's going to be a 256 all over a 255, as long as I didn't do any math wrong, which you guys can check my work. All right. This one says graph the equation. Actually, let's do this one first. It says using the equation, determine the equation of the axis symmetry. So again, the axis symmetry is the graph, what the graph reflects about, right? So it has to go through a vertex, right? And points to the left are going to be the same distance across on the other side. And so we can see here that this axis symmetry vertical line is x equal to a negative, looks like it's crossing at -6. Here it says graph the equation y is equal to a negative x plus 4 plus 5, and it comes to set of axes. You must plot 5 points plus 5 points, geez, and 5 points including the roots and the vertex. Okay, wow. So the first thing you want to do, or first thing that I would do, is let's go and find the vertex. Now I do know this graph opens down, right? Because it has a negative a. All right, so I'll set this equal to 0, and then I'll have a negative x squared minus a 4x minus 5. Okay, so hopefully you recognize you can now factor this. That's going to be an x minus 5 times an x plus 1. So applying the zero product property here, 0 is equal to a x minus 5 times an x plus 1. So x minus 5 is equal to 0, and x minus 1 is equal to 0. So x is equal to a 5, x is equal to a 1. Okay. So again, we can just get rid of the negative because you're just dividing negative on both sides. So we go to 5, and we go to -1. All right, now we got to go ahead and find the vertex. So find a vertex. You could try to complete the square if you wanted to put it in vertex form, or you could just say, x is equal to opposite of b divided by 2 times a. Okay, so let's see what that is. So that's going to be a opposite of b. So it's going to be a -4 divided by a 2 times a -1. And -4 divided by -2 is going to be a positive 2. Okay, and then you just want to go ahead and find out that value is. So we say y sub 2. So now we're just going to plug that value in. So it's a negative x squared plus 2x. So it's a negative 2 squared. What was it? Plus 4 times 2. And then plus 5. Oh, I did that. All right, so this is a 2 squared, which is 4. So that's a -4. And then plus an 8 plus 5. So therefore, that's equal to a 9. Okay, so my vertex is going to be at a 2, 9. So 2, 9, so 2, and then I go up to 9. Okay, looks like that's kind of symmetrical here. So right now we got 3 points. How many points did I say? 5 points. Jeez, oh man. We can find the y-intercept. How do you find the y-intercept? Well, that's just going to be when x is equal to 0, right? So the y-intercept is when x is equal to 0, right? So I have y is equal to a 5, right? Because when you plug 0 in for x and all these, you get y equals 5. So let's go there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, hopefully you can kind of see here, if this is my axis of symmetry, right? If this is 2 points over, then that point also has to exist as well, right? Because you can just flip it, right? So flip that point across. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. So we've satisfied the teaching requirements. It's not the best parabola, but hopefully you get the idea. This one's kind of the same thing. It says graph has choose max and min. Find it. This has a minimum. And it looks like just from this graph, -1, -2, I can't really go by the scale that the student gave me. So I'm just going to assume it's by ones. And then this is by ones as well. So this is a -2, -9. List the x-intercepts. So 1, 2. So it looks like at 1, 0 and -5, 0. Okay, find the y-intercept. That's where the graph crosses, right? The y-axis. So that looks like that's at 0, -5. Find the coordinates of the vertex. That looks like that's at -2, -9. Find the axis symmetry. That's going to be a line that goes through that vertex. So that's x equals a -2. Find the domain. Well, the domain graph keeps on expanding, right? So the domain interval notation is from -infinity to infinity. Find the range. That's basically how low does graph go to how high is it going to go. That's going to be from -9 to infinity. And then write the function in the equation of form and vertex form. Okay, well, we already have the vertex, so we're good to go, right? So all we're simply going to do is, again, it opens up, and there's no a stretching that we're aware of. So therefore, I can just write this as f of x is equal to a x plus 2 y squared plus 9. So just remember that's the x minus h. So, x minus a -2 is x plus 2, right? And then you have the plus k. Well, plus -9 is just, so that's -9. Good catch. Talked my way through it. All right, and this one I'm assuming the student needed. I'm assuming this was like find the value k that makes the function continuous. The picture that they sent me was a little bit incomplete. So on this problem, basically what we want to do is we want to make sure that these two equations are going to be equal at 4, right? Because you can see here at 4 is where we're changing from one function to the next. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say e to the k times 4 is equal to a 4 plus 3, okay? So basically I want to solve e to the 4k is equal to a 7. So now we basically just want to solve for this. So how do you solve for k? Well, take the ln of both sides and ln of both sides, and therefore I'm left with 4k is equal to an ln of 7, and then divide by 4. Divide by 4. So you could find the decimal equivalent if you wanted to, or just figure that out. I think it was like 1.8 or something like that. All right, and then this student needed some help with using the congruent statements from on here. So let's go through D here. So it's important to understand, what I would definitely recommend doing is you want to find your corresponding parts. So Z corresponds with X, right? So I'm going to say triangle Z, so I'll do X, and then it's going Z to A right here. Well, the A is not noted here, right? Well, Y is not noted for this example. So it's an X. So it goes to ZA. So we're going to go to XY. Okay. And then XYY. So that's to Y, which for here in this triangle, that's the double circle. And this one, A is the double circle. So that's XYA. Now we just got to look at, well, how do we know what sides are like, how are they related to each other? Or how are they going to be congruent? So they have a same side, right? So that is angle, angle, side. So angle, angle, side, right? Angle, angle, side. So you can, it's going to be one of your congruency statements from on there. All right, and then this one is, again, we have PQ. Okay, so we have parallel lines. Oh, excuse me. So what's important about parallel lines, though, is we can recognize that these two angles are going to be equal by alternate interior angles. And these two angles are going to be equal by alternate interior angles. Okay. And then it says that these two sides are equal to each other. That's very important. So it says P to Q to R. Okay. So P, double line to the single line, right? So we have double line, which is going to be our S to T and then to A. Now, these are going to be a angle, angle, side, angle, angle, side. So again, same kind of thing, angle, angle, side. This one, you can see that they share the same side. Okay. So U, so UWV, so U to W to V, U to W to V. Okay, so that's going to be the single line U, which represents the single line. So therefore, that's going to be from V, so U to W to V, U, W, V. So this is going to be V to T to U. Okay. And then by, well, this is going to be angle, side, angle. Angle, side, angle. All right, and this one says the height of the Eiffel Tower, so the angle of elevation. So whenever I hear the angle of elevation, I'm just going to draw an angle going like this. So the angle of elevation to the top of a TV antenna mounted on top of the Eiffel Tower in Paris is measured to be, 80 degrees, 1 degree. So that's going to be plus 1 over 60 plus a 12 over 3,600, right? So basically what I'm doing is I'm converting this to the decimal form, right? I don't want to use the degrees and minutes and seconds. So I'm going to convert this, right? Because there's, 60 minutes in 1 degree and there's 3,600 seconds in 1 degree. So I'm just writing down the proportion that I have from that case, or the fractional part that I have in that case. So therefore I can write that as a decimal, which is, why don't we just go and figure that out? 1 divided by 60 plus a 12 divided by 3,600. It's 0.2, right? So that's really just going to be an 80.2 degrees. Okay. And we could create a right angle here. So that's going to be 185 degrees from the base of the tower. How tall is the tower? So we want to find h. All right. So you can see we have an angle and we have the opposite and we have the adjacent side. So which trigonometric function do we want to be able to figure out the h? Well, we want to do tangent, right? So I can say the tangent of 80.2 degrees is equal to the opposite h over 185. And so now I just multiply 185 on both sides. And then h is equal to a 185 times a tangent of 80.2. So 1 degree, 12 minutes, that's just degree, minute, seconds, right? So it's just a way to break up a degree. So kind of, if you think of like degrees of like an hour, right? We don't usually say like, what time is it? We say, or like if you ran a race, like think about if you ran the marathon, right? We don't say, oh, I ran in 1.7865 hours. No, we say like, oh, I ran in 1 hour, right? 45 minutes and like 33 seconds, right? So we use minutes and seconds to break up an hour. And the same thing can be done for degrees. So we can use decimals, which obviously we want to use decimal form when we're like typing in a calculator. But a lot of times when we're communicating them, especially for navigation, we break up our decimals or we break up our degrees using minutes and seconds. So there are 60 minutes in 1 degree and there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. So therefore, that's when I had 1 degree or 1 minute, I just put that 1 over 60 to give me the decimal approximation. And when I had 12 seconds, I wrote that over 3,600 seconds because that's how many it takes to make a degree. So therefore, I could use the decimal equivalent. So then I just added those decimal equivalents and that gave me an 80.2. And so now I just go ahead and multiply those out. So it's going to be 185 times a tangent of an 80.2. And h is going to equal 171.035. Or let's just round this to 36. And then we have feet, right? So feet. So you could say the height, right, of the tower is 1,071.036 feet. All right, so there you go. All right, guys, hopefully that was helpful. If you have an exam coming up this week, I wish you guys the best of luck. If you're done with your exams, then why you want a live stream? No, I'm just joking. Thank you so much for joining me in. You guys can always go ahead and submit your questions at brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and I will be going live. I am looking forward to doing another year of weekly live streams to answer your questions. I hope you guys have a great week. Best of luck on your exams, and I will see you guys next week. Cheers.